The climate crisis is here, and communities most impacted
are standing up.
This is Earth Deserves More Than a Day, hosted by Rainier Avenue Radio and King County Parks. From elected officials to grassroots leaders, from river tours to cultural art, we gather to take action. Listen in. Learn more, then get involved, because the Earth can't wait, and neither can we.
Your community radio station, where your voice, your story, your power matters. Today, we kick off something bigger than a broadcast, something deeper than a conversation. We are launching Earth Deserves More Than a Day, a week-long summit in partnership with King County Parks that centers community, culture, and climate justice. Now, let's be real. Earth doesn't just need our love and attention one day out of the year. Earth deserves more than a day because the communities most impacted by environmental degradation are often Black, brown, and low income, and they are living this reality 365 days a year. From the air we breathe to the water we drink to the green spaces we need, it's all connected. What environmental justice means to you personally?
For me, there's really no separation between ecosystems and human systems. I have always really been very confused by this separation of supposed nature and human, that nature is over there in city parks, in state parks, and that human is over here where the big tall buildings are. What about the spaces in between? The spaces where people have homes and gardens and yards? What about me, who was eating off the land in my backyard when I was a child in urban spaces? I think it creates this false divide, and that same mindset that creates this kind of a false divide is the same mindset that led anyways to environmental destruction, and that ends up devaluing people as well.
It's equal is not equity. So communities have different needs, have different resources, have different opportunities. So using environmental justice in a way that helps those communities, no matter what their resources are, or if they need more resources, you give that community more resources.
But the communities that don't have money, that don't have a voice, they don't have as much power. And so they are left with smog, they're left with contaminated water, they're left with areas where they cannot feel protected from the increasing harms of climate change. And so if we advocate for their voices, if they have a say in what is going on, that I feel is the start of environmental justice.
And when I was younger, I didn't really understand what was going on. But then when I started to study the different impacts of policy on different neighborhoods, and how certain neighborhoods that are more low economic status neighborhoods have some more of those impacts, it got me to thinking. And then I saw that eventually, because of all of us, we breathe air that touches each other. We work with water systems that touch each other. Like, the water systems don't know what a border is. The air doesn't know what a border is. And so eventually these impacts will come for the more wealthier neighborhoods as well. And so it makes this environmental justice issue, while it is something that's been impacting me for my entire lived experience, it's going to continue to impact more and more of us in the human family and the more than human family as the years go on as well. And I think of this word that was coined, I think in the 90s, or maybe it was the early 2000s, of intersectional, by Kimberly Crenshaw. And she was talking about feminism, but it was her way of saying that, yes, we need feminism, and we also need to think intersectionally about it. Because for some women, it's not just misogyny that affects them, it's also misogynoir, or misogyny plus racism. For some people in the world, it's not just that their air isn't clean, it's also, like Sara was mentioning, that their entire community, their entire cultural way of living has been attacked by this degradation of environmental respect. So there's this intersectionalism piece that I think gets added on when we think of environmental justice versus environmentalism as a broad concept. I define equity as all people having access to what they need to thrive. So being able to push past simple survival and into thriving. So you have your cultural resources, your food resources, your health resources, etc. So if equity means anything other than that in your mind, I would ask that while you're listening to me, maybe allow that definition to be what it is for you too. So this is, I think, Tony, actually a perfect circle around to why is environmental justice, why is it so important to include race, class, in my opinion, youth, and equity? And it's because so much of the history of environmental injustice doesn't just accidentally impact these people. Much of it impacts them on purpose because there has been narratives that some people's lives matter less than other people's lives.
The root of environmental justice is making sure that all communities, no matter your language background, no matter your economic status, your racial background, that you have a voice in what your environment looks like, that you have a voice in what kind of, what is in your backyard, what kind of food you can eat, what kind of food that you want, what kind of air you want to breathe. That a lot of the communities that are suffering are because they're disadvantaged, because they don't have the resources to advocate for themselves. And when they don't have the resources to advocate for themselves, our capitalistic society takes advantage of that. We, as a society, produce a lot of goods and materials, and the product of those goods and materials are things that we don't want in our backyards. But the individuals and the groups of people that have the privilege of wealth, of power, of resources, we can avoid the consequences of capitalism.
I'm sure that the planting of trees was not a focus for lower income neighborhoods. I think they're trying to turn that around now, but definitely areas without trees.
Why is that important? Why is that?
Yeah, so many reasons. So the trees, they don't just benefit in, they create shade, they make things more aesthetic for sure, but there's all these other benefits: the air quality, the water quality. They help retain water, so reduces flooding. Yeah, even in a parking lot, if you have more trees in a parking lot, the gas doesn't evaporate from your gas tank as quickly. So I think the regulations now are you have to have a certain number of trees in your parking lot. People driving on tree-lined streets drive slower. They have studies that show crime rates go down. Just all types of benefits for the trees.
From trees.
Yeah.
So in Washington State, a few years back, Washington State made a commitment to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, the compounds that we put in the atmosphere that is creating climate change. We as a state had committed, or the state legislature and the governor had committed to reducing our greenhouse gas emissions. So they're essentially net zero by 2050. So how do we transition to a low carbon economy? We need to create more clean energy sources like wind and solar to start. There could be some nuclear and there can be some fusion too, but wind and solar. Wind is the cheapest green energy we could possibly produce. Solar is up there too, as a close second. The sunniest and the windiest land is tribal lands. So when we develop energy on their land so that we can benefit, is that environmental justice? That we don't have to lose our lands to windmills or to solar panels, but they do. For who to benefit? There's an inherent tension between who receives the consequences and the needs that we all need. I've heard time and time again, tribes are in favor of clean energy. They understand that they are the most vulnerable populations when it comes to climate change.
Don't know who gets the best
Okay,
water.
let's talk about Flint, Michigan. Okay, which is majority predominantly black. Okay, you got other communities where you get predominantly white. The quality of the water is different. Okay, in terms of toxins in the water. Even West Virginia income. West Virginia people are dirt poor in West Virginia compared to in terms of Columbus, Ohio. Okay, West Virginia you have mostly whites, but the real super poor individuals, and the water smells like licorice. You're not supposed to drink it. And now they're finding out birth defects associated with the bad water. The same thing in Flint, Michigan. I mean, if there's other communities outside of Detroit, wealthy communities where they have their good water, okay, or even the Hamptons, let's say, compared to Flint, Michigan. I mean, the Hamptons, they have clean water, okay, they have quality healthcare, the environmentally issues of it, the cars, the exhaust, okay, so it goes all the way, not just from the water, but the quality of the air, okay, and even the quality of the soil, okay. And when you talk about race, where do we usually get the land? Or even let's put Native Americans in this. They took the reservations and put them in the worst land possible where they couldn't grow anything. Whereas the Navajo reservation, we're talking about uranium, okay, downstream from the uranium mine. So these children who are playing in these streams, are getting major damage due to the uranium water. So the quality of water, and they're drinking water with uranium tainted in it. And so and income does make a difference, because wealthy incomes, they're going to buy land where they feel the water is safe. Okay. Whereas if you're poor, you just buy wherever you can and live wherever you can go that. And also education ties into that, because people are educated, are going to study and do their research and find out where the better water is. And that's where we're going to buy their land. And then also limitations on what you can buy based on what you look like. Okay, certainly you get financial loans within this neighborhood, but I can't get a loan in that neighborhood. Okay, and that's where the race kind of comes into it. So all of it kind of goes together. Education, standard of living. The higher one's level of education is, the higher your standard of living is, the more education you have, the more you understand these toxins and hazards that operating on you. And that's one of the problems that happened this last election. A lot of folks, they voted out of antipathy for us, and they end up hurting themselves. Okay, and that's where the interconnectivity needs to come in, the education. The bottom line is...
I'm going to ask you to say that again.
Okay, which one?
Because you brought up something about voting and people and their choices, and I just want to make sure that you said what I thought you said, because that's a political hot button.
Oh, you're talking about where they vote against their best interests because of antipathy towards people of color. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, that's what you meant to say.
Yeah, I mean, that hurt the farmers. You look at the farmers now, they're getting ready to go out of business because they thought it was going to affect black people and Mexicans. Okay, it hurt people from West Virginia because they thought that it was just going to hurt other people, and now you got West Virginia people laying off. So they voted thinking that they were going to hurt people, particularly Latinos and Africans, and they hurt themselves. It's going to hurt them more than it's going to help hurt us.
Okay, go ahead, finish your personal final words here. I'm sorry.
That's where the education comes in. Okay, being educate and read as much as you can and make those connections with other people.
Yeah, thank you. I will build a little bit on what Jonathan just shared, that the word eco actually has a Greek root, and it comes from the Greek root that means home or house. The word economy comes from a Greek word that means to manage one's home. Ecology is the love of our home, the study of our home. So this earth is really our one and only home. There are some people right now who are flirting with going outside into space. A scientist will tell you there is no other planet that is inhabitable by life the way that planet Earth is habitable by life. This is the one planet in the entire known universe that has gone from primordial goo over millennia to the complexity of life and living systems that we now have the privilege to enjoy.
From South Seattle across the state, voices rose for climate and environmental justice. This is Earth Deserves More Than a Day, a week-long summit hosted by Rainier Avenue Radio in partnership with King County Parks. You're about to hear highlights from powerful conversations, performances, community action, all focused on protecting our planet and the people most impacted by climate change. Because one day is not enough. The Earth deserves more.